Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Today, I'm excited to have a horror movie friend of mine on the podcast. We know each other through mutual friends, and before COVID, we used to go see horror movies together fairly often. Without further ado, please welcome Matt to the podcast. Hey, Matt, how are you?
Hey, Allison. It's good to talk to you again, and I look forward to the time that we can go see some more movies together. But things are pretty good. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, no, we haven't seen each other in person since I think New Year's. So,
Yeah. And
yeah, it's
so,
been a while, but it's good to see your face, even if it's through Zoom.
yeah. Yeah.
So tell the listeners a little bit about yourself before we begin.
So I would say like a novice horror fan, but like trying to get into it more. I work for the city. I have been in New York for about 15 years or 14 years. And yeah, that's about it.
Cool.
Not too much interesting.
So tell me, what's your favorite scary movie?
So I think I would have to say Drag Me to Hell by Sam Raimi. I think that one has always been one that I go back to when I just need like it's because it makes you laugh, but it's got like the right amount of like the mix between like horror and comedy. I think that's what makes a good horror movie.
Okay. All right. Yeah, no, I know that one. I watched it during quarantine for the first time. Yeah, it's not my favorite, but I know a lot of people love it. So I totally get it.
Yeah.
Didn't Sam Raimi just do another, or he's done a lot. He's done Evil Dead, right?
He did Evil Dead, and I actually like am gonna horrify all your listeners because I've never seen any of the Evil Dead movies.
I never have either because it's not really my type of thing. I didn't like Drag Me to Hell, so
Got it.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to spend the time watching Evil Dead. Sorry, listeners.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what was your first exposure to horror? Was it books, comic books, movies, TV?
So I think like any good 90s kid, it was the Goosebumps books. Which, you know, looking back on them, like they're so cheesy. They're like ridiculous. And I think that again, that's what makes horror like palatable to me. Like there has to be like the mix between like it being like the levity, like there has to be something funny about it as like mixed with the horror. Otherwise it's just depressing. So yeah, it was the Goosebumps books. And then also my dad had an old VHS copy of Night of the Living Dead. It was like always sitting on the shelf, and he was just like, "You can't watch this. You can't watch this." And when I was like, "I'm gonna watch it," and I thought it was great. I mean, like obviously George Romero is a legend, and I think zombie movies are like some of the best, like one of the best kind of horror movies to have. So I think those were the two things. It was Goosebumps and Night of the Living Dead.
Nice. Yeah, I saw Night of the Living Dead for the first time during quarantine as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, awesome. Yeah, I think if you were growing up in the 90s, you definitely read Goosebumps. I definitely did. Do you have a favorite book, or did you back then? Do you remember?
I can barely even remember the books. I know there was one about a ventriloquist that was terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh, and also, what was the Are You Afraid of the Dark on Nickelodeon? That was the other big thing as a 90s kid. Yeah.
Yes.
So
yeah, of course. Have you watched the reboot?
I have not.
Neither have I, but I own the entire series through Vudu. I got it for $9.99 one Black Friday. It was like the best $10 I ever spent. But yeah, no, I love that show. I need to watch the reboot.
Yeah, it's some great Canadian TV, and like it's fun to see like it's like some of the first appearances of like some great actors who like have now gone on to do huge things. So
I know. I just looked it up. The most recent movie that I'm thinking of by Sam Raimi was the movie Crawl. Did you see that in theaters?
I did not know.
No, it was really good. It's on Hulu. So if you have some free time, you should definitely.
I definitely have some free time. So yeah.
We all do. Yeah, no, it was really good, and the girl who's in it is, I think she's excellent. So why would you say that you like this genre so much?
Well, I think going back to what I was saying earlier, I like the contrast, like in the mix of like comedy and terror. Like I think that's what makes a good horror movie. And I will go back to, to talking about Drag Me to Hell. Like, you've seen it, so you know the ending, and I'm sure your listeners know the ending, like no spoilers, but like the last 90 seconds of that movie, I remember the first time I saw it, like it gave me goosebumps, like no pun intended, but also cracked me up. Like, and I loved that. I loved it. Like, there was some really like scary moments in between, and there was like the ridiculous moment with the goat and the seance and all that. But like that's what I love. Like, I love a little bit of comedy, and I know you and I saw Ma together,
Yes.
and that again, like it cracked me up. Like, and I need that, I think, because you have to have that, otherwise it doesn't work.
Definitely. That's a great answer. I know you said when I asked you to do this, you were nervous because you were like, I haven't watched most of the classics.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, neither have I for the most part. I've seen like the original Friday the 13th and Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street, but I haven't particularly liked most of them. So around what year do you think your exploration into actual horror movies began?
I think the first time I decided to be intentional about it and start watching it was, I guess it was 2003 or 2004, when I went to see, The Grudge is the first movie in theaters that I've seen. So like that's, I think, a good starting point. Like, I had seen like the Scream movies, again, rented from like Blockbuster and all that, but that was the first time I was like, let's go, like with my girlfriend at the time, I was like, let's go to the movies. Let's go see a horror movie. Let's go see a scary movie. And like, it was that one. So, yeah.
Did you see I don't know if it was a remake or reboot that came out earlier this year?
Yeah. And this is like an answer to like one of your later questions, but that's probably the worst movie I've ever seen. I thought it was terrible. I thought it was so bad.
Yeah, that's what I've heard about. I haven't seen it, but I
Yeah.
did not hear great things, but I'll probably still watch it at some point.
And it was like a remake of a remake already. So, or they were like,
yeah, it was
I guess it's a franchise at this point, but yeah, I thought it was going to be a remake, and I liked the one with Sarah Michelle Gellar. I thought that was good. But the new one is just it's terrible.
Yeah, no, I actually did like The Grudge as well. I've never seen the Japanese version, but I did. I liked the Sarah Michelle Gellar one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that you will at any time go back and watch any of the classics that you haven't seen?
Yeah, and I probably should be at this point because, again, I have all the time in the world. I've never seen the Friday the 13th movies except for that one scene where Kevin Bacon gets the arrow through his neck, which was also like, I saw that as a kid and traumatized me. Now it's just like, nope. I've never seen the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. I've never seen the Poltergeist movies. I need to do all that. So yeah. Again, I'm a novice, so.
It's okay. Yeah, once lockdown is over, we'll have to get together and stream a bunch.
For sure.
On TV. Yeah. Is Sam Raimi your favorite horror director, would you say?
I mean, I don't know if I'd say that, and I don't know if I have a direct answer to that question. What I will say is I love what Jordan Peele has been doing with the genre.
Yeah.
Because I think he has, like, in a really great way, just like illustrated so many social issues through like this genre, which has been done before, but he's doing in just such a masterful way. So I would say right now he's my favorite, but that could change.
Agreed. Which did you like better, Get Out or Us?
Get Out, for sure.
Yeah.
I liked Us, but I thought Get Out was just like, that was like one of the best movies I had ever seen when I first saw it. And Sarah and I went to go see it in Harlem, which is like the best place to watch a horror movie, as you know. And it just wasn't quite sure what to expect. And, she's not a horror fan necessarily, but it was just so well done.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, no, I went to go see Get Out in Harlem as well, not knowing anything about it really, because I remember the trailers were really vague, and I think that was on purpose. So yeah, it was the best place to see it.
Yeah.
And then we saw Us together, right?
We did. Yeah.
Yeah.
You were in Harlem, I think. Yeah. Or maybe
you were sitting.
Yeah.
You were sitting to my left, and my now boyfriend was sitting to my right, and I remember you leaning over and being like, "Is that a potential suitor next to you?"
Oh my God.
I was like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah." So, did you watch Mike Flanagan's The Haunting of Hill House series on Netflix last year?
No, I did not, and I'm not even familiar with it. So yeah,
That's a
tell me
quarantine
about
project. It's based on the book or the story, and it's super creepy. It's what the movie The Haunting and The Haunting of Hill House. There have been a ton of different takes on
it.
the story, but it's directed by Mike Flanagan, who is a brilliant director. He's done a bunch of Netflix horror movies, and then he did Doctor Sleep most recently.
Okay.
So it's really great. It's really traumatizing. It's really dark. I highly recommend it. If you can go into a separate room where Sarah doesn't.
Yeah, I love to be traumatized. That sounds great.
I mean, what's
Yeah.
better for quarantine? Let's traumatize ourselves
Yeah.
more. So, and then he has another series coming up called The Haunting of Bly Manor, which I believe is a take on the story of The Turning. The Turning was made into a movie for like the 5th time last year. It's based on the story The Turn of the Screw. So yeah, the Turning of the Screw. It's a really weird story. The remake was really weird. I'm not super familiar with any of the other takes on it. I listened to a podcast called Scream Girls, and they talked about it a lot because one of the hosts wrote her dissertation on all of the different versions of The Turning of the Screw. So that was interesting, and I'd highly recommend it for anyone who's interested in learning more. But they just released they released the poster on Bloody Disgusting. So, and it looks really interesting, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's being released in the fall, so they've continued to film now, I think, in Canada. So since they're better at handling the pandemic than we are.
That's an understatement.
Yeah. All right. So I have a couple of questions related that are like COVID related. What was the last horror movie that you saw in theaters before lockdown?
So I think it was The Grudge, unfortunately. Yeah. Which, could have been better. Could have gone better, but that's fine. It's what it is.
Yeah. So I know your girlfriend Sarah doesn't like horror movies. So have you had a chance to watch any while you've been in quarantine?
So not in quarantine. I would say we've watched some Hitchcock movies, which is, I think that's been fun. That's been helpful, and that was how I've been able to convince her to go see things like Get Out. It's like it's more suspense. It's a thriller. It's not horror, because I think the issue with her again is like if there's too much gore, she doesn't want to deal with it. And we'll be watching things on TV sometimes, and she'll just be like, "Let me know when this scene ends." Like, I will not watch that. Like, just let me know. So I wouldn't say we've watched any horror movies, but we've had. I think we're going to watch Silence of the Lambs later because we both love that. Although it has some very gory, disgusting scenes, it's still a great movie with a great plot based on a great book. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I can definitely relate to Sarah because I also hate gore. But I think you could probably get a list together of horror movies that don't have gore in it that you can get her to watch.
Yeah. And I think also the other thing is, I think we both agreed, like, we think that like jump scares are cheap. Like anytime they try to be like, oh, boo, boo, like, I don't want to be scared. I want to have some like tension build up and then like have it, get dismissed eventually. So it's like playwriting 101.
Yeah. So since you're somebody who likes horror movies and your partner does not, do you have any advice for people who also have partners that don't like to watch horror movies and how you balance that?
I mean, I would say find a friend who likes horror movies, which is kind of what we have done. You can't change someone's mind about their tastes. That's fine, but that's what I would say. It's find a friend, find a horror buddy.
Yeah. What were you looking forward to this year that has been pushed back due to COVID?
Film wise, there have been a few things. I am like dying to see the new James Bond movie. I'm dying to see Wonder Woman 84. I want to see Mulan. Like I want to see all these. I want to see all these things. And
But what horror movies?
Oh, I don't even know. I don't even know what's supposed to come out this year. Like you're gonna have to tell me.
The Conjuring 3.
Oh, I haven't seen the first two, so.
You haven't seen the first two? That is your
No.
homework.
Okay, okay. You're giving me homework on a podcast. Okay.
Yes. All right. The Conjuring 2 is on HBO. And
Okay.
then you'll have to find The Conjuring, the first one, somewhere else.
Yeah.
Candyman. Well, it hasn't been pushed back yet, but I'm assuming it will. It might be.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yes, I am looking forward to that. I
Yes.
think that looks good.
Yeah, because that's also Jordan Peele.
Right. I know. Anytime I hear Candyman, it makes me think of the movie Carney. Have you ever seen that or heard of that?
What movie?
Carney.
I think I've heard of it, but I haven't.
It's a good bad movie, like in that sense of like, you know, it's the kind of thing you would rent and like watch and just like laugh at. It came out in the 80s. It stars Jodie Foster is in it, and Robbie Robertson, who was the guitarist from the band. And it's just like this weird, like, it's a movie literally about carnies who like go from town to town, and it's hilarious and bad. So that's anytime I hear of Candyman, I think of Carney. I'm like, is this a remake of that? No, it's not. But yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'll put it on my list.
Okay.
A Quiet Place 2 was also supposed to come out in March, and they were like the first movie to delay. Have you seen the first one?
I did not see the first one.
That is on Hulu. So
Okay.
homework.
Okay.
Are there any movie? I know AMC said that they're going to start opening up movie theaters soon, and I think they already have. Are there any movies that you'd risk going into a theater to see right now?
I mean, honestly, no. And I don't think AMC's open in New York yet, but no. Like we have been like hardcore quarantining, and the best movie in the world couldn't get me out of the house right now.
I agree. I've been enjoying video on demand.
Yeah.
Oh.
Totally.
Yeah, it's worth it to spend $20 to see something in your apartment instead of having to go to a disgusting movie theater.
Mm-hmm.
As much as AMC is saying that they're going to disinfect the hell out of everything,
yeah,
I don't buy it.
Can't trust it.
Yeah, I've worked in a movie theater before, and I know how people clean things.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think I knew that.
It was for like 3 months when I was a senior in high school. So, yeah, it wasn't the best.
Like a Long Island movie theater.
Oh yeah, Long Island movie theater. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah, it was just a bunch of future alt-right people going to the movies. Did you get to see The Invisible Man?
No.
Oh, you should definitely go rent that.
Okay. You're giving me so much homework, and I don't mind it because I have a queue. Like I have to finish watching like Person of Interest and Alias and like all these shows with Sarah, and we've been watching a lot of Below Deck randomly, which is hilarious on Bravo. But like now I have all these movies, so thank you. I appreciate it.
Do you have more than one TV in your apartment?
Yeah.
Okay.
We do. And we have multiple like streaming devices, so we can.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. What was I going to say? I see you're wearing a Staten Island t-shirt. I know Sarah's from Staten Island. Mm-hmm. Have you ever been to any of the haunted sites that are there? I think there's like...
No, that is on our list of something to do when we get out of quarantine, because there are some haunted places on Staten Island. Yeah, for sure.
Did you watch the Cropsey documentary? I think it was on HBO. I think it's about something on Staten Island. Like there were a bunch of kids disappearing.
No, I haven't seen that. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's on HBO. It's really interesting. Did you watch the documentary, the Slenderman documentary?
No, and like that actually, that's like one of my hard lines. Like for whatever reason, Slenderman freaks me out, and I don't want to.
Why does that?
I don't know. Like he just looks like Jared Kushner. Like I don't want to watch it. Like that's a hard pass for me for whatever reason.
Yeah. I get it. We all have our boundaries. So your boundary is long skinny men in suits.
Yeah,
That's your
well, basically, yeah. Yeah.
that's your hard line. All right. Do you have any other triggers that in movies that you don't watch?
Um, I don't think there's much else. Like no, I think that's about it. For whatever reason, Slenderman is just like I see the pictures of it and I'm just like, nope, go away.
Have you ever listened to like the origin story of it?
I don't know about the origin story. I remember the story about the kids a couple years ago who like, well, I mean, we don't need to get into it, but like that, like, and that I think that was when I first heard of it. So, but otherwise, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, he apparently came from a site called Creepypasta where they write a lot of scary stories. And like somebody like photoshopped a photo of him like in the woods, and then it kind of grew from there. That's my understanding of it, at least. But the documentary was really interesting, really creepy. I haven't seen the movie that they made about him because it just didn't look interesting, and I heard that it was just so bad. But yeah, no, my hard line is like I won't watch movies with like cruelty to animals in them. I was gonna watch last night on Netflix this movie called One Bedroom. It's from last year, I think, and it just came on Netflix, and it was listed as like the top movies in the country today. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll watch this. And then I went on doesthedogdie.com, and I was like, let's just make sure that dogs die. Yeah. And dogs don't die, but somebody burns a cat alive. So I was like, I'm out. It's like, well, not tonight. So
yeah, I'd say that's probably a hard line for me too, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah, I almost didn't go see the most recent Chucky that I think came out last year because he kills a cat in one part, but I just like closed my eyes and ears during it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my hard line. So all right, so my rapid fire questions. I think these are going to be the questions that I ask everyone that's on here. If you could remake one horror movie, which would it be?
So Sarah and I were actually talking about this earlier, and I think that there is like, and we were talking about Hitchcock earlier, I think that like there should be a quarantine Rear Window because we have been watching, like, I feel like because we've been like in our apartment so much, and like we see like there's this neighbor across the street from us who like puts on a ring light randomly at like 11 o'clock to, I don't know, record a podcast, make audition tapes or something. But like I'm sitting there, I'm like, what is she up to? Like, what's going on? And like the paranoia, I feel like, is a perfect like emblem of this time. So I think that we could do a quarantine Rear Window, and I know that they remade it with Christopher Reeve in the 90s, but I think that it's time for another one.
That is such a good answer. I agree. They also remade Rear Window with Shia LaBeouf in the early 2000s. It's a movie called Disturbia.
Oh yeah, but like, but they wouldn't say they wouldn't say it was Rear Window. They were just like, it's this. But he's just like, yeah.
Did you ever see that one?
I didn't.
You should. I think it has to be streaming somewhere. It's really good. Well, I think it's really good. I don't know.
Okay.
And he's fine in it. I don't know.
Wait, is he fine or is he fine?
I mean, I don't think he's fine, quote unquote, but I enjoy his performance in that. So.
Okay. Yeah.
What would you say is a favorite horror movie of yours that no one else really seems to like?
I don't know, because I think that I have kind of basic tastes in horror movies. Like, I think the things that I like, people like, which I think is fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't have like a deep cut that I'm like, everyone should watch this, and I don't understand why anyone doesn't like it. But yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Do you hold any unpopular horror movie opinions?
On the same line, I don't think so. Like I could probably do with less gore, which is, you know, antithetical to a horror movie, but that's what I think. Yeah.
Wait, do a what?
I could do with less gore, which is like antithetical to yeah.
I think you can have a really good horror movie without a lot of gore.
Right. I think for me, like, it's the suspense, it's the tension that like makes it work. Like along those lines, like I don't like horror movies that have like constant, like every 15 minutes we have to have like a jump scare or like something crazy happening, which is why I didn't love It Part Two when I watched that, because I did stream that during quarantine, and I didn't I think those movies, I think maybe it's the way, because it's patterned after a book, and a book has to have like a page turner like at every chapter. Like I don't appreciate like too much just like, all right, and here's the next thing, here's the next thing, here's the next thing. Like maybe that's why I liked Drag Me to Hell so much, because it was just kind of like, all right, here's this weird movie and then huge dramatic ending. Like it's almost operatic the way it's just like, think of like the way like Rigoletto ends, and it's just like, oh shit, this terrible thing is happening at the very end, curtain down. Like that's what I'm into.
Yeah. So you just like, you know, the crescendo and then blackout. You don't want to know what happens after.
Right.
Just like being left on. I'm being like that.
Kind of like it's Shakespearean, it's operatic. That's kind of fun to me. Yeah.
Did you get Sarah to watch It Part Two with you?
No. Oh, she was just like, absolutely not. Yeah.
Understandable. That was.
And she hadn't seen Part One, so she wasn't gonna.
Yeah. I mean, I think she could still get the gist of what was happening, even if.
Yeah. Like they're two different stories basically. Like, and there's a lot of context, but yeah.
Yeah. So if you had to spend quarantine with one horror villain, who would it be and why?
I mean, and that's a hell of a question.
No pressure.
It would be the goat from Drag Me to Hell. I'm trying to think if there's like any villain who I would say is like misunderstood or something like that. And I don't know, because I think that like, again, part of what makes horror work is you have very Manichean, like clear cut, like black and white, like good, bad guys. So I don't know.
Well, I think that's it. Is there anything else that you want to say about horror movies and why you love them?
I don't think so. This has been fun, and it's been nice to catch up with you. And again, I look forward to us being able to go to AMC in Harlem and see one of these soon.
Yes, me too. Hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yes.
Thank you for being here.
Of course.
That about wraps it up for this episode of Who's There, and thanks again to Matt for coming on. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and remember to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. As always, you can follow us on Twitter at Who's There Pod, or on Instagram at Who's There Podcast, or you can feel free to shoot us an email at thewho'stherepodcast@gmail.com if you have any questions, comments, concerns, horror movie recommendations, etc. Until next time, stay scary and wear a mask.